This is the Moss Ross. Yesterday it had so many blooms on it, but now it's wanting to go to seed. Bunching onions. It had red, yellow, pink, purple. It was so beautiful. But today they're starting to go to seed. Love those flowers. So we're going to take a walk into the garden. And I love this deer fencing. It took a whole lot of worries off of me. It was well worth the effort. The money invested took all the stress off of me with the deer pressure. I'm so proud of my corn. This is the first time of growing this corn, or growing corn. Some of it is about 8 feet tall, probably 9 if I got to the top of it. Sun is starting to go over now. It was so hot out here with my phone, trying to do a video with it, that it just kept cutting off, and that's the first time I've ever had that to happen. So these are planted close together. I did that because I was worried about the pollination. I've never grown corn before, didn't know anything about it, but I'm super happy. Some of the silks are starting to turn brown. The corn is filling out. I don't know how big it's going to get, and now I've got to learn when should I pick this. So I think this one right here, I'm going to end up breaking it off and seeing what the kernels look like. A lot of it, the silks have not dried, but some of it's dried. I did get a lot of good pollination. The bees were up into the top up there. This morning I could notice the sweet smell. It's the first time of me ever growing corn. Here is the Star of David. First time of me ever growing the Star of David. I kind of intermingled it throughout the black eyed peas. The black eyed peas, it will not be long. It'll be time to pick black eyed peas. I've never grown black eyed peas, so black eyed peas is another first timer. Super happy about my corn, just to have it in the garden. Just looking at it, it's just beautiful to look at. I would never dream of gotten corn that tall. Been dealing with some pest pressure. The Japanese beetles constantly walking through the garden. They will destroy your garden in a heartbeat if you don't keep an eye on them. This is my sweet potato slips. They're doing phenomenal. This year I didn't buy any sweet potato slips. Usually I grow them and then buy some. I guess that's for security. But this year I just grew them all and was determined I'm not buying any. I'm growing. I'm doing this. So it's the first time of me ever just having all my sweet potato slips. I've been growing sweet potato slips now for about 4 years. So these are used to my area. And I do get a good harvest with my sweet potatoes. So it's the first time of ever just growing my own sweet potato slips. These are Georgia Jets. This is the first time of me growing watermelon. I heard watermelon and corn is hard to grow. Now these few right here going on down, I transplanted them. They suffered transplant shock, but I do got blooms. And I did see a small watermelon this morning. These down here was already here. And you see the difference of the size on them. Now down here, I believe that's either cantaloupe or honeydew that kind of got mixed in there. The bees were all up there. It was beautiful to watch them. Now it's about 3:30, but getting there at 4 o'clock, probably about 3:45. And the garden will start shading out, which is great because it is super hot. The garden would not take off. It would not do anything because it was just too cool here. Because most of the garden's been planted with a different, more of a warm season crop. It's the first time of me ever growing pickling cucumbers. Now I did grow some into the fall. They didn't do anything. But this year they're doing phenomenal. And just a little bit, I will be in there making some probably cucumber chips. getting some of those pickled up because they're really producing. This is the first time of me having the running butter beans. Also, I had garden peas earlier in the season, and they did really phenomenal. First time of me having those in this garden. These are running butter beans. They're just starting to take off. Thank God for the heat, but I was dealing with, I believe, what's called a rust disease. And I think it had to do because these beans were just sitting here so long. I've never dealt with that, but they are getting some pods on them. So I'm really happy about this heat. I just hope this disease will just start to go away. And I see a stink bug. Oh, I got him. So, pests were really bad in here. And I believe it was because of, look how big that is. I'm just hoping they produce some beans. That's huge. The pests were really bad in here. And it was a journey. It was a struggle is what it was. So I'm hoping I'll get a good harvest with these running butter beans. First time for that. This right here is a grilling squash. I love this type of squash. It's the first time I've ever grown a grilling squash. I did try to put some on the grill. It was good. I wasn't used to doing that. It was first time, but I did take and stew some of it with a little bit of bacon grease and salt and some water, and you just kind of stew it down, and that type of squash was just super delicious. First time for grilling squash. And down here I have another type of bean. I believe it's small butter beans. I had to plant them twice, and I have to write down all the things I plant. I have to write it down to really remember it. But it's the first time for those. Now, they just wasn't going anywhere. They're just now starting to grow. I'm hoping this heat won't take them out because it's so late in the season. It's June. We're on the southeast coast. It's hot. It's humid here. Especially right now. It's getting treacherous, especially since we've been so cool. First time for Jamestown tomatoes. These are a hybrid. And since I had a spot that no seeds came up, they came up and they just wouldn't go anywhere, and beans would just eventually die out. Jamestown tomato hybrid. Hey, hero. And down here is the Star of David. First time of growing the Star of David. So far, the Star of David plant is outgrowing the Clemson spineless. They are starting to pot out. They look beautiful. So I decided to grow some Star of David. Star of David on this side of the garden stops right here. I have me a little stake, and down this way goes into the Clemson spineless. The Clemson spineless is an all-time favorite. Easy to grow. Seeds you save your seeds, you get a phenomenal amount of seeds. It's a good chicken feed too. If you have extra seeds, feed them to your chickens. They love it. I am watching these beetles here. They're bad. And they will destroy your garden. Trying to mash them and hold the camera at the same time. But that is your Japanese beetle. And they will ruin a plant in one day's time. I'm starting to like the color onto these plants. This heat is really bringing out the greenery. On this end, we have 2 rows of tomatoes. 2 new variety of tomatoes. All the tomatoes have produced a lot. These plants, and I don't know if the camera will pick it up, are just loaded down with tomatoes. I've tried to leave some leaves on there. I do give my plants a haircut, because the heat, you know, you don't want tomato scald, or try not to. And the blight is starting to kick in here on the southeast coast. Disease is normal. We can't help it. It happens. I had to cut some of these leaves off, hoping to hold back that disease. Don't know if that will help, but you know, they say to do that, so I tried it because I have a lot of tomatoes that's on these plants here. So I start out with the Florida weed, but my plants go different heights. These are determinate and indeterminate tomatoes. So I got my favorites here, Celebrity and a big beefsteak. I grew those last year. Those are my favorites. But I've decided to grow 2 new varieties. So on this side right here, going halfway down, is the summer pick. On this side right here is starting with Celebrities. Celebrities is a good tasting tomato. It's meaty. It produces a lot of tomatoes. I can't say enough about them. They're just a tremendous good harvesting, canning, eating tomato. This tomato is supposed to be a summer pick. It's loaded down with tomatoes, and it kind of looks like a Roman tomato. Where this seed came from, I don't know. I mean, it is in here, and of course you see the blight that's picking up. But you know, we're hitting in the middle, we're hitting into summer. But I'm not sure what this kind of tomato is. It kind of looks like my Roman tomato, and it could have been, it just maybe grew bigger or something different about it. But it's loaded down with tomatoes, but it's supposed to be a summer pick. The marigolds are doing phenomenal. Even they didn't really want to take off until the heat picked up here, because we just had cool temperatures, 50 some in the daytime, and then 70 some in the day, 50 some in the nighttime, and 70 some into the daytime. So we have the Celebrities on this side, and then on this side we have the summer pick. Picking 7 5-gallon bushels of tomatoes off of these plants, because just like with any fruit, if you have so many fruit onto one plant, well, you're just going to get smaller fruit. So I picked a lot of them off. I've canned spaghetti sauce, got tomatoes into the freezer, got some ready to about ready to be canned. I picked a lot of them green, so they can go ahead and be ripening up, so that I can you know, go ahead and be canning those for spaghetti sauce. This is the straight 8 cucumbers. Straight 8 cucumber is one of my favorites. This is what I grow. What do you want to be on? You want to be on the pen? Straight 8 is my favorite cucumber. I grow every year. They're great for saving seeds from. They grow phenomenal. Can't say enough. Everything's good about them. They're great for canning. They're great for eating. They produce very well. And so this trellis here, I have put here strictly for my cucumbers. So the Celebrity has been here, but the summer pick is new. The summer pick will go all the way down to the next stake, but let's take notice of the sunflower. The sunflower I never grow. This is the first time of me growing sunflowers here, and I just love how they look into the garden. I just love how they just stand out and just make the garden stand up. They're just beautiful. So I would definitely be growing sunflowers again. So here the summer pick goes all the way down. This plant didn't do very well, but it has produced some tomatoes. The summer pick goes all the way down. And all these tomatoes had nice size tomatoes. They were all big. I mean, some of them were just huge. These are the smaller ones because I'm trying to get these tomatoes, hopefully take some of them off, that I can get bigger tomatoes. This sunflower here has got to be at least 7 feet tall. The bottom of it is about the size of a 50-cent piece. The stalk is really super big. It's big, it's strong. They just look like there's a king of the garden. It's like they're watching over the garden. The thing about sunflowers is that you can put them in, they can, you know, like all the stink bugs and stuff will usually go to the sunflower and stay away from your other plants. So the summer pick ends right here. Then we pick up to the Homestead. The Homestead is the old favorite tomato. And it's loaded down with tomatoes. That's a huge one right there. It's probably one I overlooked as far as going ahead and picking. So the ones beside of it will grow bigger. But Homestead is an old-time favorite type tomato. It produces a lot, and I know the camera will not probably show because all the leaves of the amount of tomatoes that's inside these bushes here, but there is extremely a lot of tomatoes here. On this side here is the big beefsteaks. The big beefsteaks have taller stakes because these tomatoes are determinate and indeterminate tomatoes here. So the ones that grow taller will have the bigger stakes. Just love the king of the garden. The Homestead, look at all these tomatoes. This is why I try to take some of the tomatoes off, because they're just loaded down, but they're smaller tomatoes. And you would not think that I picked some of these tomatoes off of this bush right here, but I did. If we could get inside here, we would see all the tomatoes that's in there. So we go down, look at this. There's no way all those tomatoes can grow big. There's so many little ones on there. So what I really need to do is go and pick some of those off and hopefully maybe get some bigger tomatoes. The zucchini is still holding on. I had to pull some of my squash out because of vine borers, and I've never had them. Studied up on them. 2 days later, decided to check my plants, and sure enough, because I never had them, so I wanted to, know what I'm looking for. So I have to pull the plants up on the other side, which I've now planted more squash plants. But I pulled the plants up so that I can plant some more. But that, once I checked my plants and I found that I had the vine borers, it was just time to get them out of the garden. Look at all those tomatoes. I don't know if you can see all those tomatoes, but they are just loaded down in there. So the straight neck squash are still holding on. The king of the garden. That's what I'm going to start calling that plant, the king of the garden. It's just watching over the garden. Over here is cantaloupe, and the cantaloupe was supposed to have been on trellis. It wasn't even supposed to have been planted here. I just got it going and supposed to have moved it, but that didn't happen. So we'll see what it does. There's a straight 8 cucumbers. This is bell peppers down here that's been fighting to hold on. They're starting to grow since the heat is coming on. Trying to get them to take off. For some reason that spot right there, they just don't want to go. So there's something lacking there. I'm not sure, but I'm working with it. And in between here is the straight 8, Clemson spineless and the Star of David okra. What is new here is eggplant. I never grow eggplant. Still dealing with it, pest problems. But eggplant is new here into the garden. Bell pepper on this end with the heat are starting to take off. I love growing the bell pepper and freeze drying them. And then I have them when I'm starting to can, and maybe some of the plants have not produced anything yet. And then I already have bell pepper freeze dried that I can go ahead and use for my recipe. This is new. This is pink eye purple hull. I just thinned them out again this morning. Pink eye purple hull I've never grown before. And in between there is some random potatoes that are coming up. The potatoes did phenomenal this year. I had some extra potatoes. I planted them on the side. When the plants grew big, then the potatoes that were planted did not grow, and so therefore when the first round of potatoes were taken out, was harvested, then these plants just took off. It's June, and so they're doing very well. The plants are starting to die back, and it won't be long I'll be digging up potatoes again. So the pink eye purple hull with this heat are starting to just really do phenomenal. And guess what? Collards. Yep, June collards. I said, you know, why not? Let me see what's going to happen with them. Our season was so cool, cold, you know, for our time of the year. And I planted them, and yep, you know, they're growing. So it was really just an experiment to see what they would do. Now the pink eye purple hull had to be planted twice because the beans will get going because the temperature wasn't right. Then these took off, but on this side they had to be planted again because peas or beans, they get to a certain height and they will stop growing and usually end up just dying out. So they had to be replanted. I kept on being persistent with my harvest, and that's what you got to do. Just because you're not having a good time with it, with your plant, doesn't mean you quit. You just keep on, and maybe you'll hit it right. So here is the bush butter beans. First time I'm growing bush butter beans, and there is a potato beetle. Come here. Oh, I got him. Oh, no. There's that daggone moth. I've been flying around. I've been running around here trying to get him, running with a cloud of dirt, trying to hit him. I hit him, but could never get him to stay down. Now, he's the moth. I don't know if you can see him. He's the one that flies around and lays eggs in your garden to produce worms. So let me put this camera down and see if I can. Now, they're smart. See if I can catch him. Okay, what a battle. They're smart. Earlier, I was around here taking a clod of dirt in my hand and running around throwing it at him, trying to knock him down to kill him. You talking about hard? Well, let me tell you what I did. So I have this spray that I have set aside, and I came up with the idea after running around this garden looking like an idiot chasing after a white butterfly. If anybody saw me, I thought, what? She's lost her mind. Just chasing after that butterfly, trying to kill that butterfly. Well, that butterfly lays eggs, which produces worms, which eats your crop. So I went, had some spray already made up, and I try not to use spray. And I said, you know what? I'm running all over this garden, and I'm trying so hard. I'm breaking a sweat. and they're smart, and they're hard to catch, and it's crazy. You know, it's like trying to catch a robber. And literally, if you don't catch them, they rob you some of your garden by producing insects. So I went and got that spray, and I'm running around this garden with this sprayer, and I'm hitting him. You know, I'm like, okay, you're gonna die. This ain't gonna happen. I'm sure he's been out here all day long. I've seen him earlier. I chased him around, and he finally got tired of me and left, but he came back. Oh my God, he's back. No. Are you serious? Oh my God. Are you serious? Oh my gosh. So you see how crazy this is? I'll be right back. Okay. I really look like an idiot. I'm running around here chasing that white butterfly with a sprayer. And I hated spraying anything out here because the pollinators are out. But sometimes you gotta take that chance if it means your whole garden be infested with more pest problems. So getting back to the garden. These are Roman tomatoes. You got the bush butter beans, this new, the peacock purple hull. These Roman tomatoes, they're loaded down with tomatoes. They're small bush, but they're so loaded with tomatoes. I mean, the good thing about this Roman tomatoes is that I noticed that they're good disease resistant. They are starting to show some signs of some blight, but they're also drought resistant. They hold on really good. There's so many tomatoes on here that honestly I've never grown these before. This is the first time, and I'm not sure what size they're supposed to be, but they are small tomatoes. They're meaty. They taste good. But I don't know if I'll be growing those type. I actually grew those because everybody said Roman tomatoes. There's a lot of small ones on there. Maybe they're not supposed to be that many on there. Maybe they're not supposed to be so loaded on there. I've tried to take some of them off. There's some of them that are nice size on there. Not bad. So leave me a comment. I don't know anything about Roman tomatoes. So the first time, also June, of growing squash again. Straight neck squash that are just coming up. And straight neck squash, I usually don't, once they fizz out, I usually don't grow anymore. So that's new. The zucchini's still holding on over here. No vine borers yet. I'm watching it. And Diva cherry tomatoes. Diva cherry tomatoes are a delicious tomato. They're sweet. They're just super delicious. This is loaded down with little cherry tomatoes. So, if you wonder how to keep the deer out of your garden, I have the T-post. I have fiberglass poles that are connected with zip ties. The deer netting, I got grower solution. Since the fiberglass poles are good for electrical wiring, I go ahead and put electrical wire at top. Since I already have an electrical system at the chicken coop, just ran it to that wire since it's already hooked up. And man, you know, it makes it a little bit more difficult when I'm, you know, in here working, trying to keep, you know, cultivate the ground or whatever. But it's well worth it. I sleep good. I wake up feeling good. I'm not worried or stressed out about what's going on in my garden, especially when you got corn over there. You got the sweet potatoes, you got the watermelon, you got all the peas and beans. I mean, everything in this garden, the deers love. And this just gave me such a peace of mind. And then I took and put the little flag tape, and I didn't finish it all the way around, but that my purpose of that was to help with the birds flying. That one's tangled up right there, but help with the birds flying, and also the deer to see. And I still got some I'll put up later on. But I also made a special deer repellent. I didn't copy somebody's. I made it up. That was into my orchard, which is right there, and was eaten away. And I do need to mow grass, but you know, I'll get to it. Fruit trees all out, grapevines. They was just having a field day, munching away. I'm gonna have to weed eat around some of my bush, my trees. Weed eat, it won't be long, but I kind of look at it like this. It's permaculture. It helps keep, you know, shade that soil, but it's about that time. But I made my special deer sauce, and I haven't seen the deer since then. They haven't been back out. They definitely didn't get into the garden, but they did come that close and ate the orchard pretty well. And I made my special deer sauce that I am experimenting with. I made some yesterday and put it out. I haven't seen any deers, but since we've had a lot of rain, I said, you know what? I better just go ahead and put it on out there. So that's me, you know, taking that chance and wishing that I had put it out and made it, and go out there and my fruit trees all ate up. So as you see, it won't be long. The whole entire garden will be shaded. The garden will get a break from this powerful sun, the heat waves, the heat, those rays that come from the sun, the scorching rays. And the plants just love to take a break, just like we do. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you so much. Please give me a thumbs up. And yeah, chasing the butterflies. I wonder if anybody saw me doing that. You know, if they saw me, well, wait, first of all, she's running around with a clod of dirt, throwing a dirt at, she's crazy. Look at her. Got a clod of dirt in her hand, throwing it at that cute little, poor little butterfly. And now look at her. She's running around in the garden with a spray bottle, chasing that poor little, cute little butterfly. Well, you daggone straight. Because that poor little, cute little butterfly was a fight. And I hated spraying anything out here. But, you know what? I also hate pests too. On to the next video.